Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and we are specifically going to talk about what a dungeon master can learn from Wes Anderson's Asteroid City. Spoilers for Wes Anderson's Asteroid City's here. All right, so I saw the Wes Anderson Asteroid City film, and it's very important for dungeon masters to check this out. Now, why? Why is it important for dungeon masters to pay attention to what's happening with Wes Anderson's Asteroid City? Well, the reason why is it is a truly unique film. Wes Anderson is incredibly fortunate. He has established a name in Hollywood. And when you establish a name in Hollywood, when you excite celebrities, and celebrities are very excited to work with you on projects, you reach a point of power. And I think that's where we're at with Wes Anderson film. Wes Anderson is a powerful name in Hollywood. Why? Because his movies make money? Absolutely not. His movies make trash box office. Absolute dirt money. Okay? Wes Anderson is not a useful director from the perspective of making money. He's useful because every major Hollywood star wants to work with him, right? And that is what Asteroid City is. Asteroid City is an absolutely unrepenting, full-on attempt to So Asteroid City is an unrepentant, full-on attempt to make a purposeful narrative, right? So I think, and this is interesting because, by the way, absolute garbage box office. Asteroid City has done horrible. I don't think it's even going to make $100 million. It's very, very, nobody's seeing it. It's incredibly niche, right? And that's with stars that should be costing a lot of money, right? And stars that should be draws but are not draws. And the reason why are there major stars? Scarlett Johansson, Tom Hanks, Jason Schwartzman, Ed Norton, the list goes on and on. Sophia Lillis, straight from Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Among Thieves, right? And the list goes on and on, and it is a list of celebrities that is truly inclusive. It's a powerfully inclusive list, right? So you have that, you have this powerfully inclusive list occurring, and it is very significant what is being done with this property, right? So with all that said, when you look at a Wes Anderson film, this is very, very important to discuss, right? When you're looking at a Wes Anderson film, you are getting a situation where it is not, the point of this is 100% not to, the point of a Wes Anderson film is not to entertain, not to make anyone laugh. It's to make a purposeful narrative, right? And that's very significant. And so why is that significant? Well, because it's so different than any other film, and Wes Anderson is one of the few people in Hollywood who has been established to a point where he can actually accomplish this, right? So I think it's, and he can draw in these stars and celebrities, which in my opinion is more powerful than getting celebrities hooked to your projects is more powerful than even getting finance, connected to your. It's very, very important. So you have this situation where he truly has. I feel like he's very much moved into like a new level of success, right? Which is achieving something that is not connected to money, but is connected to actual influence, and that's really significant, right? So what is being accomplished by a Wes Anderson film? I think it's exactly where Gary was taking us with Dungeons and Dragons, a story of a narrative of meaning, purpose, and specifically significance, right? And basically, and he delivered it in 1974. He said, "Hey, everybody, this is a game," right? But he put these keys in it, these very special keys in it, which would be found later and would really transform the way people interact with Dungeons and Dragons. And that's why we hear Joe Manganiello saying, "I'm having elevated conversations with people who have transformed their lives with Dungeons and Dragons, and correspondingly the civilization they live in," right? That is astounding words, right? Like that it doesn't connect with snakes and ladders. It doesn't connect with Monopoly. It's something truly profound and truly different, right? So I think that's really interesting to establish where we arrive. So with that said, right, let's talk through exactly what happens with Wes Anderson's film and what it's about, right? So one of the things that's really fascinating to me, that I think is really, the most powerful aspect of, what's being accomplished with Wes Anderson's Asteroid City is this statement of how to win and how to live in a winning manner. What is tier 1 life, right? And if you look at a Wes Anderson's film, he's saying this is an exploration of life, and this is the way you should live life, and these are going to be the winners, and these are going to be the people who are catalysts. I'm not going to say for a minute that he's saying these are the people who are going to be heroes. The hero-villain dichotomy does not exist for Wes Anderson, right? That is for sure, right? But what does exist for Wes Anderson is he does recognize catalysts, people who are going to change the world. So his characters in this film, the people who are going to change the world, are the genius kids that are going to this Stargazers event, right? Which is creating science projects which are being immediately swept up by the U.S. government, right? And so these essentially high school kids are creating projects and establishing those creating projects, and then those projects are being taken in by specifically by the they're creating these projects, and these projects are being swept up by the U.S. government. In addition to that, there is a war hero, right? And that war hero, what is the war hero? Actually, there is a war photographer, and there is a celebrity within the film, right? And so these are the catalysts within the Wes Anderson Asteroid City film, and they're the ones who are going to essentially win the world, right? And so I think Wes Anderson is saying this is the model you should follow to win at life. And what is that model? Well, first and foremost, more than anything, it's citing and identifying, right? And so Wes Anderson, of course, he's super mayonnaise. I'm just going to leave that there. He's just the most mayonnaise person you could possibly encounter, right? So from that perspective, what he's putting down is cite and identify. What does that mean? What does it mean to cite and identify? It's a Birder term, right? So the Birder term for cite and identify is first you cite a thing, then you identify it, right? And so basically what he's getting into in the film, in my humble opinion, is like you look at the world and then you name it, right? And this branches down. You name a thing, which goes right back to Gary Gygax's true naming. So we absolutely have a structure for that. And I want to be super clear. I think Wes Anderson is a dungeon master who's never played Dungeons and Dragons. And I think dungeon masters are people who automatically do this. One, we true name. We look at a thing and we say, okay, this is what that thing is, right? We name it, we categorize it, we determine its attributes and parameters, and finally we box it. We put it in a box, right? And with Dungeons and Dragons, this is very super clear, right? We literally, there's literally the true naming issue, and we name every entity, we name every non-player character, we name every type of weapon, we name every magic item, we name every storm. Naming is huge, right? And that's what's happening in Wes Anderson films. you are looking at catalysts, right? Entities in the Wes Anderson films that are doing naming, categorization, and then literally and figuratively boxing it, saying, I will define the borders of this entire item, right? And this is seen throughout the entire film, non-stop, right? So first of all, you definitely see naming from the perspective of there's even a frame story in this, right? And every character is named, and those names are said very clearly, and then from that point forward, they're defined, right? And the biggest thing you see is the war photographer's son has a commonplace book, and he is constantly writing down, I encountered this thing here, and I make it real by writing it down, by making a note and capturing it. That's what we're doing in Dungeons & Dragons, right? We are quite literally crafting a fantasy world, but that fantasy world, our art, is a 100% with zero division, in my opinion. And it's a reflection. It's almost a perfect reflection of our real world from the perspective of meaning, significance, and purpose, right? We are modeling these things out so that we have a clear understanding of the world, and we are capturing these aspects of the world, right? Now, I'm saying so basically, if you watch the characters and his father, like the war photographer, he is actually literally capturing every attribute, every aspect of the person. And what's really fascinating is he takes someone's picture in the film, and the celebrity played by Scarlett Johansson, Jason Schwartzman's war photographer, he takes her picture, and she says, I didn't give you permission to take my picture. And he says, I never asked for permission. And she said, why? And he says, well, I take pictures in war zones, right? You think I can take a picture? I can ask somebody. So and this is the entire point, right? We define the world, we name it, we clarify it, we quantify it, we categorize it, right? And finally, we put it in a box. And in Wes Anderson's film, this box is very, very literal, right? Like if you look at the movie, like all the characters are literally kept in these tiny houses, right? They're boxed, right? When the characters are shot, they're shot looking out of a window. They're boxed, right? And it's absolutely constant throughout the film. They're boxed constantly. And so I think what we should be doing as Dungeon Masters is very carefully looking at what Wes Anderson is doing, because we're doing the same. First, all Dungeon Masters are quite literally naming, categorizing, and boxing everything in the fantasy world. The podium Dungeon Masters are literally using, in my humble opinion, Dungeons & Dragons to build a reflection, to build an illuminated diorama of the IRL, right? And to use that illuminated diorama to place our players into it so they can do experiments. And if you watch the Wes Anderson film, they literally talk about experiments in the film, right? So every Dungeon Master really needs to watch Wes Anderson's material very closely, because he's doing what we do. He's a Dungeon Master who never played Dungeons & Dragons, right? And I think we see a lot of this. We see people who have the same energy as us. We're naming, we're categorizing, and we're boxing, right? Every single word of that is my humble opinion. What's important is we finally get to hear your humble opinion. Did you see Asteroid City? Do you agree that naming, categorization, and boxing of every element we come across is what puts Dungeon Masters in a truly unique and truly powerful position to tell meaningful, significant, purposeful narratives exactly the way Wes Anderson does? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking, subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.